An entitled Karen blatantly steals my shopping cart right from underneath me, despite the dozens of carts that she literally passed in order to grab mine. And even though I was obviously using the cart in question, this lady refused to take no for an answer. And I'm honestly blown away by this lady's entitlement, and I really hope that karma comes back to bite her where it counts. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened a few months ago, and for context, I'm a 29-year-old female, and I had just been in a pretty bad car accident back in April, where I had partially wrapped my front end around a tree at 50 miles an hour. Fortunately, I came out mostly intact outside of a broken collarbone, as well as severe muscle strain in my legs. I had gone to the store with a friend, and I had decided that I no longer needed the scooter and wanted to start walking again. She parked as close to the store as she could, but I grossly overestimated the strength I had in my legs, as by the time I got in the store, I was practically using my friend as a crutch because my legs were trying to give out. Thankfully, there was a bench near the entrance inside where she deposited me. She asked if I was sure I didn't want a scooter, and me being stubborn said yes, I was sure. We weren't in any hurry to go anywhere, as we had no other plans, and we were mostly there just to chat with one of the door hosts, as they were a friend of ours. So the plan was to sit and rest my legs while we chatted and then go do our shopping. Now, my friend had gotten me a cart to use for when we went shopping, but said she had to go to the bathroom and to wait for her to get back. Now, I was still chatting with our door host friend at the time, so I said that would be completely fine. Shortly after, it started to get busy, so I had to stop talking to the door host so they could do their job. Then I decided to start scrolling through my phone while I waited for my friend to get back. Now, it's important to note that I was leaning forward with my good arm on the side of the cart, as I did this to let people know that I was using it even though it was empty. And I also want to mention that the cart bay was completely full, and someone would also have to go past it in order to get to me. Trust me, this will be relevant later. Just as I was starting to wonder if my friend had fallen in and was just about to start texting her, a lady came up to my cart, and while I was leaning on it, started to put her child in the car seat. I said to her, "What do you think you're doing?" This Karen said to me, "What? You're not even using it." I said to her, "Yes, I am. I'm waiting on my friend in the bathroom." She then looks at me and says, "Well, I need it more than you do. Can't you see my baby's tired?" I then gestured over to the cart bay. I said to her, "There are a bunch of carts that you just passed in order to get to this one. Why didn't you just grab one of those like a normal person?" This entitled Karen looked at me and said, "Why can't you just grab one yourself and let me have this one? I don't have time for this. My baby's tired and you're being rude." So I said to her, "Okay, let's see. I'm just sitting here minding my own business while waiting for my friend, and a random lady is trying to get me to let her steal my cart. But apparently I'm the rude one? Yeah, somehow I doubt that." This Karen then looks at me and says, "Oh my god, why do kids your age always have to act so entitled? Didn't your parents teach you to respect your elders? I'm telling you to give me this cart right now. Now hand it over." She then actually tried to move it, but I had my foot on the cart so she couldn't get very far. I said to her, "I don't care how old you are, and my parents taught me that respect is earned and not given. So take your kid out of my cart and get lost. You're not entitled to just take whatever you want simply because you're older. Go get your own cart." It was at this point that I stood up to yank my cart back, but that proved to be a mistake, as I almost fell into the cart due to my weak legs. Instincts told me to use both hands to catch myself on the cart, but that was also a bad idea due to my broken collarbone. All this to say that I made a very bad decision, and the amount of pain I was in afterwards made for a very vocal landing on the floor. My door host friend heard me yelp and came over to ask what had happened. The lady then told them that she was just walking by when I stopped her and tried to steal her cart. But the door host looked at her, then at me, and then back to this stupid Karen. The door host then said, "I watched her friend give that cart to her when they came in, and she should be back any second now." The entitled Karen then said, "But I have my kid, and this idiot is just faking whatever it is she has for attention. You need to make her get another one." And then off she went. No fanfare, no police called, no justice. Just me sitting on the floor trying not to cry from the amount of pain that I was in. My door host friend helped me back up and onto the bench and got me another cart just as my friend came back. When I told her what happened, she was pissed, but ultimately agreed there wasn't anything we could do as this entitled Karen was long gone by then. And after that interaction, I definitely ended up needing that scooter after all. Wow, that Karen is absolutely out of line. Seriously, there's a cart bay full of shopping carts that she could have used, but instead of taking one of those, she grabbed the one that someone was leaning on and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna take it." Like, is she really that entitled that she has to act like a complete moron in public? And sure, this story doesn't have like this stellar ending that everybody would like really hope for, but honestly, that's just life. Sometimes Sometimes awful people get away with stupid things, and they mistreat people like the original poster here, and then they scamper off back into the darkness looking for their next victim. So to the original poster, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, and hopefully that entitled Karen gets exactly what's coming to her. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I messed up by fabricating my job experience and eventually getting a senior level job that I definitely shouldn't have. And now, after trying to run this job for just a little bit, I'm realizing that I'm definitely unqualified for this high stress position, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I've realized that I am completely screwed. To rewind for a bit of context, I've got a pretty decent career history, education, and work experience for being in my early 30s, but I put a lot of effort into over-accentuating that experience when applying for jobs a few months ago, and I found my way into a vice president of sales position for a mid-sized company after a long interview process that I never thought I'd actually get. I'm also quite certain that they think I'm older than I actually am, but never asked other than the sterling background check. To start things out, I have a dual degree from a well-known school and a master's degree from another very highly ranked school, on top of some professional experience throughout that time in school, mostly working full-time. A few years back, I took what was basically an internship and was basically the vice president of sales for a small company that looked bigger than it actually was. The owner of that company owned a franchise I worked for part-time, and I was making maybe $50,000 a year, basically as an admin assistant with a snazzy title. Because I worked for his original company part-time, it looked like I had been with the company for 7+ years, when in reality, I had done very little and was making maybe $15 an hour most of that time. 2 years ago, I leveraged that to get a regional manager job at a larger company, used my buddy who worked with me as a reference, and I ended up getting hired making over $100,000 a year base pay, plus a bonus that I would also receive. I did okay there, but it was clear that I didn't have the chops for it, and I was still learning, and in the end, I got laid off in March. But thankfully, my boss I was good with said that they would verify whenever I needed a reference. Well, when I started applying for jobs, I listed my experience as their regional vice president of sales, and created this hybrid job description about what I actually did, and included some senior level duties to make it sound like I was a key employee. I then ended up with an interview for this startup company, completely BSing my way through 5 interviews, and I got an offer for a $200,000 base pay, plus a bonus to run their sales division and deal with their external stakeholders. And you know what? I thought I could handle that, but I honestly can't. The job is extremely plug and play. They wanted me to completely revamp their entire sales structure week 1, and I didn't even know what their product did. I tried to BS my way through client calls, but these people have been tearing me apart every week for any strategy that I recommend, and are letting me know how worthless I am. If I don't get fired by Friday, I will be absolutely shocked after the call I had today. I got away with it for a few months through being respectful, attentive, and giving 110% towards figuring it out, but it is clear that I don't have the skills needed to be where I am yet, so I'm just completely screwed. They say fake it until you make it, but faking it doesn't work unless you know how to make it yet. I feel like Mike Ross in Suits, but instead of being competent but lying about my credentials, I actually have the degrees, but I over-exaggerated my experiences, and they bought it, so I'm just the idiot in the wrong spot. What should I do? Before we go any further, the original poster actually gave us an update. Here's what they had to say. Okay, I was gone for a lot of last night, and oh my god, I didn't expect this to blow up in the way that it did. But many of you have provided phenomenal advice on how I can navigate things, and luckily, everything is such a mess at this place that it's at a point where the ship is already halfway into the water. So as long as I keep it from completely sinking, I would consider it a huge success. So seriously, thank you to everybody from the bottom of my heart. Now, to answer a question that's been asked, is that honestly, the biggest problem is that I'm stuck between this awful love triangle as to what they actually want to happen. The end goal changes monthly, and every strategy that I propose just gets shut down. There's 2 partners who both want a different strategy and outcome for a different reason. Then there's this needy jerk third-party investor whose end goal is to simply IPO or get acquired in the next 18 months, which in this case is the absolute best thing that could happen, and they probably should have been looking into this months ago unless they want to toss cash into a fire. All of which are impossible because they're now bleeding money, and half of that time I'm trying to maintain relationships with very pissed off key account stakeholders. I'm failing on all accounts, and I don't have the experience or skills to navigate any of this garbage. Wow, this is really funny to me because oh my god, I can't imagine being in this scenario. Here you land a job that pays really well, which is all after you literally exaggerating all of your experience. Like that is already stressful enough, and I'm so sorry that you're going through that, but seriously, it is so funny that you found yourself in this position. Like if this is not the definition of like what can go wrong when you fake it until you make it, then I just don't know what is. Because the original poster has it right. If you're trying to fake it until you make it, you've got to know something before you try to make it. And it really seems like the original poster is in over his head. So honestly, I really hope this all works out for you, because what you described sounds like a very comedic nightmare. And if you're lucky, this company can get acquired by somebody else. Am I the jerk for not letting my mom see my kids after she tried to fat shame my daughter? Here's what happened. I'm a 31-year-old female, and I was always on the chubby side growing up, and my mom, who's 58, was always hard on me for my weight. It deeply impacted my self-esteem to the point that I ended up losing an unhealthy amount of weight in my teenage years just in some kind of effort to please her. Once I left the house, I gained some weight back, and after years of therapy, I finally felt like I had a healthy relationship to food and exercise. My mom also seemed to stop being obsessed with my body once I wasn't around her 24/7, and our relationship got a lot better. I eventually had a daughter 9 years ago. Let's call her Mia for the sake of the story, and Mia is a sweet girl and adores her grandmother. Well, a couple of days ago, I sent her and her brother, who we will call Liam, to stay with my parents for the weekend. On the car ride home, I noticed that Mia wasn't her usual bubbly self, and I asked her if something was wrong. She was clearly embarrassed, but eventually she started to bawl her eyes out, and she told me what happened. Apparently, that afternoon, they had gone out for ice cream, and Mia tried to order a cone with 2 scoops, but my mother stopped her and changed her order to a single scoop and a cup. And when Liam ordered a cone with 2 scoops, my mom didn't say a word. When Mia asked why Liam got a cone and not her, my mother told her it was because she's fat, and she needs to lose weight or nobody will ever find her attractive. And when I heard that, I was livid. The second we got home, I called my mom, and I told her that what she said was completely unacceptable, and that from now on, I would have to chaperone any time she spent with my daughter. My mom then told me that I was overreacting, and that Mia was exaggerating, and that I shouldn't believe a 9-year-old over her. She told me it's probably just something she picked up in dance class, and that I was just projecting. Now, I was pretty sure that she was full of crap, but I wanted to verify anyway. So I had another talk with Mia. I told her that if my mother says anything like that to her ever again, that she needs to tell me right away. She started crying again and told me that not only was this not the first time something like this happened, but also that my mother told Mia not to tell me because I'm fat and she wouldn't want to be like me. Well, I called my mom again, and I told her everything that Mia told me, and all she could say was, "Well, was I wrong? You are fat." And after she said that, I just hung up. She tried to call me again, but I just didn't pick up, and I haven't responded to her ever since. This morning, she got my brother involved, and he thinks it is an overreaction to not respond and that she didn't mean any harm, but I am pretty adamant about not wanting to expose my daughter to any of her BS. I told my brother that if my mother is willing to apologize to Mia and me and agree to chaperone visits, I might consider letting them see each other. But you know what? I know she won't do that. Now, I feel horrible about all of this because it's Liam's birthday next week, and I know he wants his grandmother there, but I just don't feel comfortable with my kids being around her yet. So am I the jerk for the way I reacted to my mom's comments? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. That is so inappropriate. First and foremost, the biggest red flag in my opinion is your mom trying to get your kid to keep a secret. Seriously, that is so messed up. That is absolutely not okay. You do not go to someone else's kid and be like, okay, keep this secret. Don't tell your mom that I said this about you. Like, no, that is not okay. You do not keep secrets with kids, especially with the parents not being aware of what you're talking about. That is highly inappropriate and, in my opinion, incredibly creepy. But more to the point, I think the grandma's behavior in this story is absolutely inappropriate. She has no right to target this kid in this way, and if anything, this is just the original poster's mom literally picking up where she left off in the original poster's childhood. And to that end, I don't blame you in the slightest for being like, no, you're not going to talk to my kid like that. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, because if I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. Am I the jerk for standing my ground and not letting my suite mates take my dorm room after I found out that my roommate would not be living with me during our fall semester? Because right now, my roommate is screaming at me saying that I'm a jerk and that I don't understand his needs. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of context, our college randomly assigns suites and rooms to students that apply for dorming. It is not chosen by the students, only the building siblings and who they wish to room with. I'm a 19-year-old male and I'm moving to college in the fall. I am in the process of getting to know my suite mates and roommate since I chose to do random assignment because I had applied late to college and everyone already chose roommates, so I had to go with the first bed that was open. After I had been assigned a room, my actual roommate added me and we began talking. However, he soon blocked me and I could no longer contact him. A week after this happened, my suite mates got in contact with me. They added me and we started to talk. They then asked me if I happened to know my roommate since he was the only one they hadn't talked with yet. I said yes, but after we talked a bit, he just blocked me. We then all had the assumption that he would be no longer dorming with us, hence the need to block me on Instagram. So after much discussion, that's the best answer we could come up with as to why he did so. And I thought that was the end of the discussion, but it seems I would be wrong. One of my suite mates, let's call him Phineas, that's not his real name, would later tell us that we should vote on who got the room. Now, me being confused, asked him why since I got the room fair and square by it being assigned to me. But he said that he wasn't aware that the rooms were assigned and that even if they were, we should vote on who gets it anyway since he wanted it. Well, I told him no for a second time and I wanted it to be over with. He then told me that he had a girlfriend and that I could understand that, right? Well, no. I get that she's going to visit every now and then and that it would be nice to have some privacy, especially if they were going to do some spicy things, but I already told him that I wanted the room since it was assigned to me and that if he wanted a single, then he should have booked a single. He keeps pushing the matter when I shut him down every time, and I told him that if he continues to talk about it, I would go to the RA and get in contact with the school about the whole situation and how Phineas wanted to violate explicit rules and guidelines of living in the dorms. Now, for more context, our college does not allow the opposite sex to enter the bedrooms of the student and may only stay in the common area with the suite door open to the hallway. And this was a strict rule that even adheres to parents and family. The guy then called me a jerk and said that I don't even need it since I'm single and I would never understand. My other suite mate, who we will call Ferb, obviously not his real name, thinks that we should see who needs the room more and give it to them. But I think that it rightfully belongs to me since I was assigned the room and bed, and that if I got so lucky that I didn't have a roommate anymore, then that was my luck and not theirs. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk, and it's very obvious that your roommate is jealous that you've got this massive room to yourself. Like seriously, he's just jealous that he doesn't have that room and you get to share all that space by yourself. Like you definitely got a good deal and that is not anybody's problem except for his. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, and the way he's acting is incredibly entitled. Am I the jerk for agreeing with my wife when she called my mom a piece of garbage parent after she brought up something that I did when I was 14, despite the fact that I've grown up and done a lot with my life ever since then? Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my birth family never respected me. I always got treated differently from the rest of my siblings, and I was never ever good enough. I'm the only one with a college education, and I received my master's degree. No one from my side of the family came to my graduation or even acted like they cared, while my wife's family threw me a huge party. Now, I don't know if it stems from me being a weird emo kid when I was a teenager, because my family still says dumb things like, "Oh, remember when you had green hair?" as if that was a defining moment in my life. And for reference, I had green hair for maybe 3 months when I was 14 years old. And that's really an odd thing for my family to be hung up on. My sister-in-law was pregnant, and I share the same name with her father, who passed away last year. For the sake of the story, we'll say that name is Larry. She named her baby after both of us because I helped her out financially and encouraged her to finish her degree. Well, I saw my mother, and me and my wife were babysitting little Larry because my sister-in-law was working. My mom then said that we should dye little Larry's hair green. Well, when she said that, this set my wife off, and she started yelling at my mom, saying how pathetic it was that with all of my achievements, my mom was still upset that I dyed my hair green as a teenager. And then she called my mom a pathetic piece of garbage parent. My wife then asked my mom to leave the house because my sister-in-law wouldn't want little Larry around such judgmental trash. Well, I stood there for a few seconds, and then I responded by saying, "She's right, you should leave." Well, my mom thinks that I should have stood up for her, but I believe her obsession with my once green hair is really odd, and my family needs to let it go. So am I the jerk for agreeing with my wife? What should I do? No, I don't think you're the jerk, and yes, it is very weird that they're holding on to what you did when you were 14. Like seriously, they're holding that much of a grudge that you did something that they didn't approve of? Like that is seriously toxic and so weird. It sounds like you've done so much with your life, but these people want to keep you as that weird kid at 14 who was trying to understand himself. And that's not fair for you in the slightest. Like seriously, you've grown up since then. And it's also so funny that your mom's like, wait a second, she can't talk to me like that. You need to stand up for me when I make condescending remarks about you. Because that's basically what she was saying. Like, it almost sounds like she wants this to be some kind of like inside joke with the family, but this is definitely not reciprocated on your end. You have not done anything to indicate like, yeah, this is funny, let's keep this joke alive, or anything to suggest that you're in on the joke in some kind of way. So in my opinion, her remarks were completely out of line, and it's so cool to see that you have a wife who's willing to stand up for you when someone says something awful. And if anything, I think your mom absolutely needs to apologize. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.